Before I retired, a big part of my work was to analyse data, specifically really to make sense of it and convert it into something useful and actionable. And so, of course, I'm really keen to do the same with my AIM data logger in my car. Now, one thing that is potentially useful is this split time report. So I've loaded this up with the standard, I believe this is the standard AIM profile, and you see the split time report. The track is Snetterton 300. I haven't labelled the each of the segments yet, but I can tell you that this is turn one, which is called Riches. This is the hairpin, which I think is now called Wilson. Then it's Palmer, Agostini, Hamilton, Oggies, and so it goes on. So we've got all the different segments there. Of course, they don't all fit on the in that window, so you scroll across to get the remainder. First thing I'm going to do actually is change the colour scheme, because I think for the purposes of this, in fact I prefer it like this, is to run it in dark mode, because I think it gives you a better contrast. Okay, so the thing I'm interested in is the best theoretical value. You can see here it says the best theoretical value was 227,623. So what the software does is it takes the best time value from every lap. So you can see here, this is the hairpin called Wilson, or Montreal as it used to be known. And you can see it's taken the value off the fourth lap and mapped that down here. And if we look at this one here, it's taken the value from the sixth lap and mapped that down into there. 10th lap here, map that down into there. So you can see the idea. It's just taking the shortest time in each of these segments and putting it into this best theoretical row. Now the problem with that is that you can, and this wasn't my idea, this was someone else, I mean I think it's well known, but it was pointed out to me that the problem with this approach is I could go charging into turn one, run wide, have to lift as I exit turn one, and then go slower down the following straight. So if you take the combination of these two values, they may be lower than they would have been. In here may have been lower than they would have been had I have, had we treated it as one section. So let's have a look at an example here. Is I've got the turn here, Wilson, and then I've got the short straight that follows it, taking you down to Palmer, down to the left-hander. So we've added these two together here, and we've got 14 seconds thereabouts. Now it could be that I went charging into the hairpin much too fast, and so realistically I would have never achieved this combination of times. So I hope you started to realise by me talking about the combination of these two, the sort of premise of this. Now I'm going to jump straight to the way that I've approached it, and then what I'll do is I'll show you how I created the figures that you need. So I'm going to go up here to the track map and segment selector, and I've created a track map that basically has merged all of the corners with their following straights. So we've got turn one is merged with the straight down to turn two, then turn two is merged with the straight down to turn three is merged with the straight down to turn four, and so it goes on. So now what I'm going to be able to do is just look at the combination of the values. So I want you to remember this value here, 2 minutes 27.623. Now let's apply this new track map. And now you see the value is 228.466. So, more than a second longer than the previous best theoretical. And for me, this is probably a better reflection of truly what I could have achieved had I put together a good lap. Now, because I want to use this to refine my driving, so what this allows me to do is it allows me to look at the variation between the value here, say 13.361, versus the value on my best lap, which is 13.381. So now I can say, well, okay, what did I do different round Palmer and down the following straight that may give me that additional 2/100ths? That's not a big change, is it? I'm just quickly looking to see if I can see a bigger change. We've got one here, haven't we? Look, there's one. So this is Rich's turn one. Theoretical best was 10.777, and the best, the time on my best lap was 10.930. So this best value here came from lap 10. So what I can now do is I can compare this corner in lap 10 versus this corner in lap 6 and figure out what is it that I did differently that gave me an additional, almost 2/10 or 1.5 tenths, let's say. So that's the purpose of doing this. I always want to, there's no point in just analysing data for the sake of it. You've got to have an objective in mind. It's got to actually give you something actionable, and I think this is quite good in that it does produce actionable figures. Now what I can do is I can use the data movies tab, load up lap 6 and lap 10 and watch them side by side and see if I can figure out what I did differently. Okay, we've looked at the why. Why are we doing this? Now let's look at the how. How do we actually do this? So I'm going to change back to the original track map, which is the default one that you get with RaceStudio 3. Okay, so we're back to the sort of smaller sectors without the segments being merged. Now what I'm going to do is I'll go into the track map again, and the first thing I'm going to do is clone the one that I'm on at the moment, the original. So I'll clone that and I'll call it Corner Straight 2. Okay, so just to give you just so we've got a name for it. So now I've got the new one. So let's select that, and then we want to click on this to rename and change segment splits. Okay, so you can see the way it's split here on this track map. I'm going to go into here, so I just move my cursor into the turn 1 blue segment, and I right click and I say merge with next segment. Now it's merged those two together. Unfortunately, it always seems to merge them in green as though it's just a straight. So what we do then is set the color back to blue, which is the default color for right hand turns. So now we've got that merged. Now the next one, we've got another right hand turn, so we've got to do the same again. So we merge that with the next segment, and that's changed it to green again. We need to change that back to blue. I mean, it doesn't matter about the colors, I don't think, but this is the way I do it. Now we're down to Palmer, turn 3, merge with the next, and then change the color again. This time it will be red because it's a left-hand turn. That takes us down to Agostini. This is Agostini here. Merge with the next segment. Change the color to red. So you see the way I'm working around the track. So you keep going with that, work right your way around the track. So that gets all that done. Now the other thing you are probably going to want to do is to name the segment. So what I do is I call it the turn name, So riches is term 1, and then I put a plus to indicate that it includes the following straight. And then I can keep working my way along this and rename this one Wilson plus. Okay, so I'm not going to keep doing the whole thing, but I'll save that. I don't know why it shoves that 2 thing there. I think it just does it because it's showing that it's been edited. Perhaps it's the second revision of this track map. But what we'll do is we'll select that track map. It's not going to be complete because you saw that I only did a few things, but if we select that one, you'll see. Okay, so you can see where I've done Riches, Wilson, and then we're down to Palmer. I didn't name Palmer. I think I did merge it, but you can see how we're gradually changing the names across the top and we're merging the segments together. So just as a recap, best theoretical value can give you the opportunity to identify places where you can improve. But the problem with it is that if you're using the standard track map layout, it possibly is giving you unrealistic representations of combinations of corners followed by straights. So to overcome that, we created a track map that merges the corners with the straights. And now this is a more reliable way of us identifying places where we can get improvements. To action this, to actually find the improvements, look at the time on your best lap, which in this case at Riches was 10.930. Look at the best theoretical, which is 10.777. Identify the lap, which is lap 10. For Riches, compare your best lap, lap 6, to lap 10. Use the data movie tab. Look at the 2 videos and see if you can figure out what it is that you did differently between those 2 laps, and thereby make sure that you can consistently do that section of the track in 10.777 seconds. To create these merged maps, we went into the track selector up here. We did track maps selector. We cloned the original using this, click to clone. We then edited the resulting clone, and in the edit we were able to merge the segments and name them. If you have any questions on this, please drop a comment into the video. I'll answer the comments. It's nice to do it that way because then you're sharing, your questions and the answers with others. And there are no stupid questions, don't hold back if there's something you just don't understand. Just drop a comment in there. Okay, hope you found that useful, and I'll catch you on the next one.